It's unfortunate that I remember the TV show Alf because something horrific happened to me one day when I was browsing the internet looking for Alf paraphernalia. I have it all. Alf Chinaware, tea sets, coffee pots, dollies. Even my car is shaped like Alf, and it struggles as it drives down the road because it's not shaped like a car. Anyway, I was getting ready to kill myself because I was feeling really deeply suicidal at the thought that nobody remembers Alf anymore. I called the suicide hotline and told them about it, and they laughed at me and hung up on me. They said, "If you like Alf so much, why don't you just kill yourself so you can go in the afterlife and join him?" Offensive, trite, rude. I put the phone down and picked up a box of Alf cereal. Now, normally you'd get some delicious prize in the Alf Pops, maybe a plastic Alf airplane or a tiny 2-inch Alf figurine that you can turn into a makeshift dildo and pleasure a chicken with if you live on a farm. I got the Pops, an ice-cold liter of milk, and a cereal bowl. I also got utensils, including spoons and forks. While forks are not normally used to cut up the Alf Pops, sometimes there are rats in these old cereal boxes, and I needed a weapon to defend myself if that was such a case. You probably don't believe me, and if you do, that makes you an asshole. And if there's one thing I don't do, it's plead to assholes. I poured the cereal and milk into the bowl, and got a hefty spoonful before my 2 front teeth broke off and flew across the room. The prize was a VHS tape. But not any VHS tape, no. But the VHS tape I have always wanted. It was the VHS tape of Alf. Now, I know what you're thinking. There are a lot of VHS tapes of Alf. Well, a lot of people don't know that Alf probably wasn't an animatronic puppet, but a real man controlling the puppet. You may say that's the same thing, but what I am suggesting is, what if a real alien was controlling Alf puppet? The Alf puppet. Alf puppet. You'll understand. Soon enough, a voice whispered. It was a cosmic voice drifting out of my refrigerator. Probably just my neighbor. He happens to have quite a bit of Alf. Suddenly, I screamed. My cat, Filipino Whatsits the Third, was playing it with the electric outlet. I put the VHS tape on, expecting a great program. I've been here before. I know I've been here before. It's all too familiar. It's been 30 years, but Alf is finally making a comeback. Here, with me. The jazzy 80s intro played, and it took me back to a nostalgic era, back when everything was simpler. The good old times. Alf was crying. He was a hairy alien, not unlike your parents that birthed you, you asshole. Birthed your asshole. There was a phone ringing in my head. Alf, have you been going through the laundry again? It was the father character, you know. You remember him, don't you? Alf smiled. No, but I ate your wife's pussy out like last night. Oh, the audience laughed very loudly. What the fuck is wrong with you? It soon became clear that Alf had been masquerading as a Spanish gardener in order to acquire free food and housing while invading the border police. What the fuck is this? They opened the fridge to find that several dead cats had been gutted and killed. Their throats had been slit, their eyes were bulging out, and their disconnected teeth glistened. I've been killing your cats and eating them, he giggled. While Alf normally ate cats regularly on the show, it was never fully addressed that he had a serial killer method of gutting and consuming them. I'm getting the shotguns. The father walked out of the room, and the cameraman accidentally set the camera reeling to the left. I have sex with cats before I eat them, Alf snickered. And his glass eye popped out, revealing hollow eyes. The puppet was falling apart. You can hear a shotgun blast as the Alf puppet skitters into the other room. Don't touch him! The father screamed. The Alf husks are multiplying. Indeed, several Alf-shaped husks were producing tiny Alfs that were crawling all over the place. Alf began to bleed red jelly all over the floor as the mother and daughter screamed at the sight of this. The thing that was crawling around the apartment floor on its knees. Alf seemed to have tiny centipede-like feet that were dragging the puppet around the floor. They were disheveled. "Feed me," he squealed. "Feed me!" This is all how diseases work. They build your trust and infiltrate, I'm not saying that, your system before they multiply and kill the host. Several audience members had left, and the director kept yelling, "Cut," while the Alf puppet slowly devoured the cast and Cap's corpse. The scene immediately cut to the family, who was encased in a massive gluttonous red jelly. The Alf voice whispered, "This is the central nervous system and of the host body." They weren't moving. In fact, their eyes were glassy, hollow. They were dead, and the Alf's stomach was slowly sucking the nutrients out of the body. I felt nauseous. "Let's play Jeopardy!" Alf yelled, while the body slowly digest them to nothing. The skeletons laid there as the outro music played. This wasn't the Alf I knew. It was supposed to be a family-friendly program for friends and family alike to enjoy, but I'd gone too far. I spent my whole pathetic life collecting Alf. I suddenly heard some party music, like the kind you'd hear in some shitty 80s lounge, and a picture of Alf smiling was shown. My cat, Marcus Portwell, was going through the garbage cans looking for delicious tuna when a familiar face appeared by my window. It was Alf. I didn't know how he got here. He was actually driving a van and had delicious candy in his hand. He was eyeing my cat now, licking his lips. He strolled naked into my living room and smiled at me. "That's a nice cat you've got there, Brian," he said. "My name isn't Brian." "You've got a very nice feline there, Benji," he yelled. "My name wasn't Benji either." "Better button that bitch up, Bentley," he yelled. "My name wasn't Bentley, and I wanted him out of my house." It now occurred to me that the front 3 letters of my GameStop tag on the floor had been obscured by a napkin, and he was trying to guess my name to freak me out. "Fuck shit, dick ass," he said, leering at me. I wasn't sure what the alien was trying to communicate. "Suck my spaghetti string noodle, dick." I picked up a chair and broke it on his head, snapping his neck. The suit ripped open, revealing that there was simply a midget inside. I had killed a midget. I buried him in a dummy-like case and started to make some eggs, as it was 7 a.m., and I had been watching Alf all night. It was then that a familiar voice appeared. "Alf? God? Alf God?" "No, I'm really here," he said, "and I know that you can't always see me or hear me, but I am always here, watching over you, making sure that you are okay. I sent my son to you earlier. I know you think it was a midget, but it was my son, and you killed him. But it's okay. I forgive you. Listen, and I mean really listen. Breadsticks. We've got a problem in this world. We've fallen into a deep state of depression and moral decay. We've gone too far. I am highly offended by all this sinning. Too many people are masturbating, and I want you to get some gardening shears and cut off all their penises off, starting with your neighbor." I simply wasn't buying it. He said that he would heal my missing teeth before sticking to chiclets in the frontal cavities and vanish. "You can't see me," Alf whispered, "but I will always be watching you. I will be watching you shave, shower, eat, sleep, and die. You are the aliens, John. We populated this distant planet a long time ago in hopes of finding a clean vessel to take back our home world. But you are not the individual we seek to accomplish here, John, James, John, Jim, Jimmy. No, you are the aliens." And then he handed me the Book of Mormon. Yes, friend, chilling as this revelation may be, Alf is a Moron. I'm not just Alf. I'm Joseph Smith from Kolob. A third eye emerged from the Alf suit, which was not actually a suit, but actually an Alf. He handed me the holy undergarments, a pair of soiled underwear with Alf scrawled across the Hanes tag. I didn't know what this was supposed to be, he said as he was leaving, but he was just standing outside my window, staring at me, shaking a little. "You don't see me, right?" The audience laughed rather loudly, except that this was real life, and no studio audience was watching me. "They're waiting for your sermon, Joseph," Alf said. as he winked at me. I cleared my throat and looked out at the audience. Someone had carved 2/3 of my breakfast nuke and filled it with shitty Alf puppets. "What the hell? That nuke cost thousands!" I yelled. There was no studio audience. It was just a tape recorder left behind some puppets. I went into the back alley and heard my neighbor snickering. I picked up a gardening shear and cut off his genitalias off. My God, the prophecy foretold. The Alf suit drift off into the heavens in a bright, sparkling beam of light. As its eternal organs fell out, like delicious fruit punch with fish guts in it, I gave the puppet a middle finger and yelled, "Fuck you!" before the ship crashed into the side of my house and exploded into a million tiny Alf vessels that crawled into my skin. I could feel them crawl into my mouth as I ate my eggs. They went into my throat, into my intestines, and multiplied. They crawled up through my central nervous system, shimmered into my bloodstream, and danced in my Alf. You may think I'm crazy, but Alf. They fused into my spine and crawled behind my eyes while they started swimming like poor pig worm, whatever that is. They fused to the vessels and controlled the host bodies. I picked up the Book of Mormon, Alf Mormon. I had so much to show the world. My crooked centipede legs skittered across the living room as I invited some Jehovah's Witnesses in. Oh, I had so much to show them. Alf fuck, Alf fuck, Alf fuck, Alf.